Assalamu alaikum. Hello, I'm Khalil Alika.
And I'm Zahir Parker, and welcome to AccidentalMuslims.com.
So AccidentalMuslims.com is a movement, a platform where we showcase present and future leaders to help us live with purpose.
And we believe that everybody has a story to tell. This podcast hopes to add value. So welcome and enjoy.
Assalamu alaikum, I'm Iman Malaka. You're listening to AccidentalMuslims.com.
Assalamu alaikum, Iman. It's a privilege to have you here and thank you for coming.
Pleasure's mine.
And Zahir?
Assalamu alaikum, Sister Iman. Thank you for accepting our invitation. I'm sure the listeners will benefit, and I'm sure we will benefit as well.
Hopefully.
So Iman, let's start by you telling us a bit about yourself and also who is Iman Malaka?
Yeah, it's always very difficult to look internally and try and explain who you are, because oftentimes we describe ourselves than saying who we really are. But in terms of who I am, there's a part of my heritage which I'm very proud of. I am a descendant of King Sulaiman, and I am basically the seed that actually comes from the union between King Sulaiman and Bilqees.
Oh.
And my ancestors got to be known as here in South Africa as the Lembas. So they traveled from North Africa and they eventually settled in a place called Venda. And so we are the Black Jews. I am a descendant of the Black Jews of South Africa called the Lemba, and I'm a Muslim. And like my ancestors, and those who have come before me, I even take myself to pre-Adamic time. I am a slave of Allah, here to carry out the message that my sisters have been carrying out throughout the years, throughout men's existence, and that's in a nutshell who I am.
So you are born Muslim.
I would like to believe. So my story is very interesting. I was very, very young when my mother embraced Islam. From my father's side, I would say they lost the belief along the way, and to an extent that we still have some who are Muslims and we have those who are very Orthodox Christian. Because when they came to South Africa, they couldn't identify. The Jews could not accept them. You coming here, you're claiming that you're Jew, but you're black. How does that come? Only recently, actually, after DNA was done, I think this was about 5 years ago, that the Jews started accepting the blacks as the Black Jews, and our descendants and our DNA was actually proved, and it was accepted. It was on BBC. It was a big thing. And so, but before then, it was like, okay, the way they identify themselves now in Venda is we are the Lembas, those who do not eat pork, for example. So, and even in terms of the traditions and the things that they do, you still find a lot of Islamic things and whatever. So my father was a liberal in a sense. He didn't want religion to confine him in any way. So from my father's side, we were not exposed to a specific religion. But on my mother's side, my grandmother was a Christian, and she also converted and became a Muslim. So I was pretty young. I think I was 9, 8. So I would like to believe that I was born a Muslim. We all born Muslim eventually.
Wow, no, that's fascinating introduction, Iman. Subhanallah. Something I just want to latch on to. Many of the Muslim community, or many Muslims see themselves as a natural progression from, Jewish to Christianity to Islam.
Mm-hmm.
You said when you were about 9 when you reverted.
Yeah.
Did you see that influence of the Jewish history, the Christianity period that you were exposed to with your grandmother, and then ultimately Islam? Can you give insight into that sort of upbringing?
I wouldn't say it's a natural progression as such. I mean, there's a lot of things that happen when you are a kid that you don't take cognizance of. You just think this is the norm, this is just happening. But only later on in life, when you start adding up things, you realize, oh, this is what this meant. Oh, this is how this part of this religion links with this. Oh, this is where the contradiction between this religion and that religion come up. As I said, my father did not subscribe to any belief. My father had a lot of books, so we were exposed to a lot of things. But on my mother's side, we were bombarded with God. Like my grandmother told me about how she had a dream where I was wearing black all over, but in her mind, I was a nun because that's what she could relate to. And she said to me that, well, you're going to influence people, but you'll be wearing black all over, so you'll be a nun. And so we would pray in whatever way, in a Christian way, in terms of praying. The house that stays together, I remember very well, it's still there in my grandmother's house. The house that prays together stays together. So I come from the family that was very God conscious in a sense, even though maybe in their belief it was more Jesus Christ. But the the foundation was always godly, so to speak. That I remember my grandmother had a birthday party for me. It was not a birthday party. It was like a celebration of sorts. I had been promoted twice in school. So then she threw a little something to thank God for this, because she was like, it's not because of your intelligence or anything. It's the mercy actually from God. And she told the story of the first word that I said was trust in prayer, that I would continuously say trust in prayer, trust in prayer. So when you grow up, for me it was like, oh, there's my grandmother embarrassing me. But later on in life, you get to realize, oh my word, there was meaning to it. And alhamdulillah, when my mom embraced Islam, we were exposed to the Sufi community, what the community is known as the Morabi Tunes. So, and I'm forever eternally grateful for that. Because that for me, from a very young age, I got to see people as people. I learned to view people as people. We were with wealthiest of people. And yet we ate from the same dish. And we had Afrikaners in the midst. And it was at a time where apartheid was still trying to fizzle out, but it was rife, you know. And we were taught, and we saw, like, I'm sitting here with this red, hardcore Afrikaner guy with a hectic farmer, with a hectic Afrikaner accent, and we're eating from the same plate. I mean, they would give me books and they would tell me to read, and I will sit with very, very, really highly esteemed people, and they will give me as a child an opportunity. What did you think of this book? I remember one of the books I was given to read, which I still read now, is When You Hear Hoofbeats. I think of a zebra. A complicated book, but I mean, here, as a child, you afforded this opportunity to sit among very intelligent, very wealthy people, and you told, what do you think of this thing? And for me, and dhikr, you know, we were a community then, there was dhikr, and for me, it was mesmerizing to an extent that it has influenced and shaped who I am right now. I see people as people, and that's it. And it disturbs me when there is that discrimination or anything, because I didn't grow up in that sphere, even though we were living in the era of apartheid.
Thanks for sharing that.
Thank you.
It's fantastic.
Iman, so what do you do professionally?
What do I do professionally? Oh, I have a company. It's called TIC Telecoms, and I am a founder and CEO of this company. The company was formed in 2005. Accidentally, I just bumped into ComScience. I met a friend of mine whom I studied with, Fatima Kota, a very dear friend of mine. May Allah be pleased with her. She's not feeling well, and may Allah give her shifa.
Ameen.
And she told me, you can come to Potchefstroom University. I mean, we saw computers at school, but it was not like, I didn't know that you could do that as a career. So because I didn't want to stay at home, I said, okay, I'll do computer science and maths. And that I went to Potchefstroom 1 year, and I did computer science and maths. And the beauty of Potch at that time, I remember we started with a prayer. And that's how I know our Father in Afrikaans, because on Safar, but in the Himalayas, you know, I learned it from there. And that for me was good, because it kept on that whole thing, because in Islamic school, we were not just taught secular, if I have to use the word secular. The teachers will come in, we had Islamic studies, but now and again, you'll be also taught about life and how to live yourself and how to be a good Muslim, how to be a good human being. And there is still a teaching by our principal then, Sheikh Nana, that I still apply now. And I learned it from school is when he said, don't be like a gene society, meaning don't follow norm, don't be just anybody. Don't be like everybody. Be yourself, be unique. So everybody wears jeans nowadays. So why do you want to wear jeans? Be that person that stands out. And that for me, I've carried out since that time up until now. Those kind of things. So when I was at Potchefstroom, I realized there is part of my life that is not exposed. Then I applied to universities outside of South Africa. I told my mom I need the experience. I need to break away from this shell that I'm in. But it has to be an Islamic university. I remember I applied in Islamabad and they accepted me. But my mom was like, no ways. So then she met up with somebody who was coming from Uganda. And she told this guy, there was some conference. My mother worked for the Department of Education. So there was some Department of Education conference and she told the guy, my daughter is so desperately wanting to go study outside of the country, but it has to be Islamic university. And I see in your profile, you studied at Islamic university. And the guy said, yeah. I just give her the details. And the rest is history. I basically applied to the Islamic university in Uganda and I got accepted and I studied there. I studied Com Science and Maths. As Allah would have it, it shaped me in a way that, when you think you don't have, and you faced with situation and people who have very little than you have, and they thrive in those situations. And that for me was one of the key lessons in life, that even Islam, Islam teaches us those things, that if you think you're worse off, look at the person below you, but you don't take it to heart until you are faced with a situation where you don't actually have electricity. I mean, when we were faced with load shedding, I was like, what? You guys, come on. This is for a few hours. In other parts of Africa, for days, a day or two, no water for some time. You have to use borehole water. And you had to pay somebody, because I was lazy, so I couldn't go fetch water at the university, that is. You have to pay somebody. I had malaria, all of those trials and whatever. For me, it's the things that shaped me. So from that angle, I was like, okay, I did not become a doctor, and Allah knows why not. And it was not really my line. And this computer science technology thing came my way. It just happened. And so I became best at it. So, and that's for me very important. Oftentimes you faced with situations and you think, I don't like this, so I'm just going to play it safe. I'm just going to do very little on it. But with everything that you give, and you have to give it your best. Whatever comes your way, however minuscule it might be, even if you don't like it, you have to do it at your best. Even that salah, sometimes you don't feel like, I don't feel like praying, but you don't know. You have to give it your best. When you are in that moment, you do the best. I tell this to my staff. You do the best that you can in that given time. So for me, that's how I bumped into the career of technology, and Com Science and Maths were my thing. And so when I was at varsity, I remember telling them when MTN started, I said, I'm going to work for MTN. Everybody thought, oh, you're talking nonsense. Why would they hire us? I'm going, immediately when I leave here, I'm going to work for MTN. And that's what it happened. MTN found me. I didn't look for MTN. I just put my CV on a career junction and I got a call. And as an engineer. Here's a person who learned Com Science from the Islamic University in Uganda and gets hired as a radio frequency engineer at MTN in South Africa. And they were very surprised and mesmerized by the caliber, the quality of education that we received there. It's actually a sister university to the University of Malaysia, Islamic University of Malaysia. Okay. So the experience there, it built that work, that caliber to say, you know what, Iman, no matter what the circumstance, whether you have a calculator, you don't have a calculator, whether you have a car or you don't have a car, you get yourself to work. Because that's the first thing we think about here, South Africans. Oh, I want to work because I want to own a car. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't come to work because I had to take 2 taxis, 3 taxis. But I mean, those are excuses. If you see other people who worse off, I don't buy it for me. There are people who come from Khayelitsha, who travel with taxi, bus, and whatever, and they get to work earlier than the person who lives around the corner, who uses a bus, for example, that takes you 10 minutes. No excuse, you know? And so for me, my career has been such that I had made the intention, I had prayed for it, and always with accepting. I say, Allah, if it is good for me, if this is where I want to go, I want to work for MTN. And it happened. And for me, MTN is where this whole TIC thing was formed with a group of friends who had the same.
How did you balance your career and also starting the company? Was it in parallel?
It was in parallel. I mean, because engineering at the time was not a popular thing. I worked for Network Group, and I think I was the only lady in the group. I mean, amongst mostly white male. So, I mean, it's just amazing on how it happened. We were seated together. We were a group of guys who had the same vision, concerns. We even started a charity group. I mean, these are the guys who are Christians, and I was the only Muslim among the midst and the only a female. And any suggestion that was godly that I would put out there, these guys would buy it. Because you know what, it came from a genuine heart. It was a genuine plea. For example, we started an organization called TIC because we were like, guys, we're black people here. For me, it was painful for me to see white people, not that I'm racist, but white people helping our community when we can do it ourselves, you know? I mean, we always have this notion that you have to have a lot of money to be able to give charity, but no. Here we are, we're earning a salary. We can afford to buy ourselves 2 pairs of shoes. And when we want to buy another pair of shoes, because we complain that we don't have yellow shoe, but not that we don't have shoes at all. And there are children who go to schools hungry. And we afford. We earn over 3 zeros behind our salaries. I mean, this is ridiculous. So I said, guys, let's start up something. And they bought it. A group of guys is still going on now. We still have the money there, but we're not very active, but it's still there. And they bought it. So at some point we were like, guys, this would be sad that we like now 6 years or 5 years, when was what, 2005, 11 years into post-apartheid, and we seated here, we just worker bees. And our children come and they find the same situation that we were in. This would be really sad if we don't do something to uplift ourselves and our children. You as a Muslim, you need to think beyond yourself. And so as a human being. And so these guys, they were in the same line of thinking as me, and that's it. And as I say, when you channel your good thoughts out, Allah responds. We built the gateway, the SMS, the messaging gateway, or the messaging platform for the Telcom knockout, for these guys to be able to send out, for people to vote. And because we didn't have that business acumen, we knew we wanted this thing. We got that and we were excited, and it was easy actually to come up with the name. The name is actually literally just abbreviation of our names. It's just that. It's TIC, it's Temba, Iman, Cyprian, IT, and Telecoms. That was it. So it was a no-brainer. We didn't have to do a lot of research on it. Since 2005 until 2013, we never lost touch. I remember at MTN, I went to the HR lady and I was very honest. I said, I've been doing IT most of my life, but I feel stifled and I want to learn more about the business. So how can you assist me? And they did what they call an ARIS test, and they found that my line of work and what my passion was were not really aligned. And so she suggested Accenture. And at that time, I had heard of it vaguely, but I had no clue what it was. So I said, okay. I went home and I prayed about it. I said, Ya Allah, Accenture is the next place where I want to go. Because for me, I believe I believe in guided steps. I don't take a move, I don't make a move unless I've prayed about it, and in my heart of hearts, I know this is the right thing to do. And so Accenture contacted me. A guy called me, and he said he's an agent. He asked me, let's meet, whatever. I sent him my CV. And then he said, well, I have 2 possible positions for you, SABC and Accenture. And I was like, SABC, film stars, oh my word. And then, I couldn't believe it. Here's this Accenture, I've heard about it just recently from HR, and it's coming my way. So we started the process. I ended up working for both of them, by the way, SABC and Accenture. I worked for SABC through Accenture, which was weird, but it happened. And so that's how I got into Accenture. I got exposed. For me, every step I took was a mental, it was sort of like registering, like, okay, so here I'm learning about the business thing. So I'm learning project management. So this is what happens when you have a big budget, because we were carrying one of the biggest budget at SABC at the time for Accenture. We were having a biggest account, and things happened, and I became the lead, myself and another guy called Mario. We became the lead for that project at the SABC. So here it is, here's a leadership role. You have a lot of BAs behind you. So here's this position I've been looking for, and I've been given a chance to lead. So how would I lead this if this was my own business? And that's how I carried on with it. Even up until I worked for Vodacom, it was, I'm a leader. I'm leading people. So if this was my business, how would I carry it? I mean, I take everything as a contract. For me, Islam is a guide. You understand? So as such, if you make that, you sign that contract, you take that position, it's an amana. Not between yourself only and that company, but between yourself and Allah. So if you say, you would be, I'm very, very bad with time. But alhamdulillah, I've been fortunate that most of the companies have been flexible with time for me. But if I say I'll be there at 9 or 9:30, or if I say I will do this, you do it. You commit to it. It's your amana, not with a human being, but it's your amana between yourself and Allah. And it builds up your credibility as well. So I believe, and that's what we did to get to where we are. So this was just me, but in parallel, my business partners also did the same. To a point where in 2013, we decided, come on guys, how much more can we learn? How much of knowledge could we gather? This is enough now. It's time now we put what we've learned to test. Let's leave the comfort zones. And we did that. We left the comfort zone and we had built relationships. Trust me, business is about people. Everything that we are doing, though we don't see it in that way, is about people. People don't buy products. They buy people. And that's what we've learned along the way. All the relationships we forged along the way have helped us to get the kind of businesses that we're getting right now. Yeah.
I mean, you're sitting 10 years later and I didn't even know you were the person behind the Telcom market SMS. Wow, yes, that's amazing.
We lost it, but yeah, eventually. But yeah.
Man, I just want to take a step back. You said you did medicine. How long did you do the medicine?
No, I can't say even I did medicine.
Okay.
Good. No. I just registered. I got accepted. I did the whole interview. At that time, I remember you had to do practical. I did my volunteering thing while I was in high school. I wouldn't call that I even did anything.
The reason why I asked, because there are students or potential students or graduates out there that are forced by their parents and by family, to be a lawyer, to be a doctor, to be the accountant, where they probably don't want to be that, to pursue those careers. And so you have students probably in their first year doing the accountant, or studying law, but really they don't really want to do it. So what advice would you give them?
Yeah, I was with UCT about 2 years ago, and that's one of the things that always comes. They see high intake in the first year, and the second year there's dropout, or they'll find a lot of students who are doing accounting, and then all of a sudden they move over to IS and stuff. And it's very true. As much as we can receive career guidance from schools, most of it will be influenced by or forced upon us by our communities and our parents and stuff. It's a tough one. I think it's an individual thing to deal with. For me, I come from a different school of thought, and I'm of the opinion that you can be anything you want to be. I mean, I know people who've done engineering because the parents wanted to. Actually, I'm very impressed by Dr. Tabo. He's a doctor now. And when he was in his 20s, he knew it was not part of him. He went back and he studied medicine. And he's a doctor now. He's a doctor, engineer, whatever. I mean, if Allah gives you life, you can do that. You can do both. As I said, whatever you're given, give it your best shot. If you become that accountant, if it happens, if you don't like it, it's a different story. Speak kindly to your parents. Make them see your point of view. And I don't believe there's a parent that can force a child who genuinely explains. Usually as teenagers or youngsters, you tend to rebel instead of reasoning. And you start doing things which are out of norm to show your anger. And you end up actually losing out yourself. So the best advice I could give is start off by talking to your parents. Make them see, because remember, they act from the point of knowledge that they have. They don't have as much knowledge as you have. So for them, this is what they think is best for you. But you coming back and saying, you know what, Mom and Dad, I liked what we had proposed initially, but I've been exposed to X. And I think I can still do 1, 2, 3, 4 with your blessings, inshallah. I want to carry out and do this and this and that. I mean, so always do not rebel. Rebelling does not help anybody. Go and talk to your parents and reason it out and make them see what you see.
I think that's some very constructive advice, very pertinent advice for many youngsters out there. Maybe some more advice, Iman. A prospective student. What we're trying to do here at AccidentalMuslims.com is to create some sort of career portal where people can use it as a resource to draw inspiration to follow a particular career. In terms of prospective students following a career like yourself, what sort of advice would you give them? What qualities will they need to thrive, perhaps?
We don't all have to be technologists. Okay, we don't all have to be good at maths and science. You can be good at history. You can be good at any subject. It is difficult as a youngster to grasp this. What I'm gonna say now, but you have to have an understanding of self. Be critical to yourself. Because you know yourself better than those psychometric tests that they give you. Okay, those are just patterns that depict behavior based on what you answer, and you could answer it in any way, shape, or form depending on how you feel on that or what has influenced you as at that point. But it is no way. If you love baking, who knows? Go ahead and be a baker, but be good at it. You know, for me, in terms of my career, unfortunately, you cannot not do it without maths and science. It is a discipline that requires you to think and to be logical in the way that you do things. Those things you discover quite early. You discover early that you're interested in knowing how things work. How does this microphone work? How was it created? What is inside the microphone? And also to the parents, when you see the child breaking the microphone, don't get, yes, it's upsetting, or the car or whatever. That's a future engineer. Or you see this person breaking the computer. That's a future engineer or technologist. The mind always probe and question, and that's what science is about. Science is about probing and questioning and wanting to understand how things work. It's there in the Quran, it's there everywhere, it's there in our everyday life. But do not accept, and don't accept it when people tell you that you can't do something. A lot of the things, the reason why most students do not venture into maths and science or even do science as a career at university is because you're told it's difficult. You're told you can't do it. You can't. Who says so? I will say, don't die before dying. Don't give up before trying. Try. Go into it.
Icebreaker question. How would you describe yourself in 3 words?
3 words. As you've heard, I can be quite descriptive. Caring, very headstrong. Is headstrong one word?
We'll make it one word.
Yeah, we'll make it one word. Okay, why not?
You mentioned a mentor. So tell us a bit about your mentors, if you can, and how important is mentorship for you?
Very, for everybody. It's mentorship. It's very, very, very important. I had I was invited to Khayelitsha to speak to the youth, the Muslim youth in Khayelitsha and Guguletu. So it was the Muslims from Khayelitsha from all the locations, and one of the guys I'm supposed to be mentoring, he was also giving a talk there, and he was talking about lack of mentorship in a location. He ended up stealing cars or doing all those things which are unsavory because of lack of mentorship. And for me, I don't believe that. I believe we have mentors in each and every community. It doesn't matter what your background is. It's your choice. You choose who you want to be your mentor. So the one thing I never believed in, or I don't believe in, is having one person as a mentor. Because people are people. People go through things and they go through ups and downs, and if you stick with one person, you're going to be disappointed because you're going to see the things that you don't want to see. So mentorship is about picking qualities that you aspire for in people. So even if those people are not around, like for example, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he's not here. We don't know him, but we know of his qualities that he possessed. So you, Mother Teresa, and all of these are greatly human beings. You take bits and pieces from those people, and you learn from their walk of life and whatever, and you create your sort of a shrine of mentorship. So even in those locations, I mean, I love stories, and I love analyzing people, looking at people's lives, and so when I was in a location is a very interesting place to analyze and see people, especially in the afternoons when people come from work and it's a buzz. I would stand there and I would think, I like that lady, I like how she walks, and that's what I need to learn. I'm a tomboy, so I'm going to learn to walk like that. And so that for me was part of mentorship. So I would learn how she walks when she gets off a taxi. So this is how she gets off a taxi as a lady. So, and that's how she walks. Okay, that's what I'm going to do. Okay, you know what? I like that guy. He's a teacher. He seems to be teaching. He teaches well. So I'm going to teach like... I was inspired by my maths teacher to love maths. And he never knew this until very late when I studied with him, by the way, at Poch. And I told him I would imitate how he taught, and for me it created that love. So that kind of a thing, that's what it's very, very important.
I think you're hitting it on the nail when you're mentioning all these stories and mentorship, how it links into it. Because again, one of the reasons we're doing this podcast is so that people that's listening out there can hear your story and they say, you know what, Iman is doing it like you said, she did it in this way. Why can't we be inspired to do it as well? Maybe in their own way, you know. So I think mentorship, you touched it, you hit it on the head. Definitely, I think it's many of our guests has echoed your sentiment. In fact, Iman, another sort of question, slightly veering off topic. Is it true you know 5 languages?
I think I know more than 5.
More than 5 languages.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that's a lot of people get mesmerized by, there's a part of my brain that catches on languages very quick. I don't know if there was a career, maybe I would have taken it. But, unfortunately, I don't master any. And that's the disadvantage of knowing quite a lot of languages. But yeah, I think 5 is minimum. Yeah. If you count, because a lot of people say to me, oh no, Sotho, Tswana, Pedi don't count. I'm like, no, they do count because I know idioms and stuff in them as well. So for me, it does count. It's just not about dialect, yeah.
Has it influenced your writing? Are you still writing? Because you mentioned right in the beginning that you saw yourself as a writer. What are you writing at the moment?
That's what I'm reading at the moment. No, I haven't gotten to it, but I want to. I want to write every time I start and I never get to finish a chapter. I want to write my life story with the hope of influencing people like what we're doing now. So hopefully, inshallah, I will get to write. I'm not writing anything. I'm just reading, and I'm still a student of life. So yeah.
What are you reading at the moment?
I'm reading 3 books in parallel. You'll be shocked. I'm reading The Miracle of Creation from a Sufi perspective. It's by Sheikh Fadlallah Lahiri. And I was interested in this lean-in movement. I don't know if you've heard of it. Is it Sheryl Sandberg, the Facebook?
Sandberg.
Yes. The Facebook lady. I was drawn to her by the passing of her husband. So, and then I got to try and understand who she was. I found her very interesting, and so I'm reading that. And I'm reading a book by Deepak Chopra. It's a Soulful Leader. So because for me, that's very important. It's a very important quality of a CEO. One of the important things is caring and being soulful as a leader.
Perhaps tell us, what's your favorite Quranic story, verse, or anything in terms of Islam? You say that you belong to you were reading the book on the Sufis.
Yes, I would like to believe. Yes, I'm still from that school.
So, what Quranic ayah inspires you or story?
You know, the thing about Quran is like it's.
Don't say everything.
It's one. It's I won't call it. It's a book that you can't say it's a novel. You have one piece that a quotation that you refer to, that you live by. And when I was little, because everybody was going Fabiai Allah Rabbikuma Tukadiban, it was that as at that time. But as you grow up, you realize that it depends on what you're going through, where you are. And it could be an ayah. For me, I believe Allah speaks. And He speaks in volumes. I mean, and that's why we still have Quran. You can be a hafiz of years and years and years and still not know Quran. Because it's about the message you're supposed to receive at a point in time, and it might touch you at that point in time. So I cannot say that I have a specific verse right now that speaks to me. But generally, what I live by is there's an ayah in Surah Al-Ahzab. I think it's, if I'm correct, is ayah 36, where the ayah says something to the effect that if the prophets and Allah has ordained for something or have said something should be, then a believer is not the one to go against it unless you go astray. Something to that effect. That for me says whatever is being prescribed and been told to you to do. For example, we've been told to wear hijab. You don't have a choice about it. You can't question it. You can't go against it. It's a ruling. If you are a Muslim and if you believe in Allah and His apostles and all His messengers, you have to go by that. It's and be against yourself. It takes time to get to understand that message and to get to understand that ayah. But from an Islamic point of view, for me, it is important. If you're told you have to pray 5 times a day, that's it. Whether you're tired or not, whether you don't want to do it or not, whether you feel this year I'm not gonna fast. It's not up to you to make. If you say you are who you are, then you have to follow. And that's the ayah that I live by throughout my life.
What is your definition of success?
My definition of success is being able to suppress your material instinct. That is, being able to, after you have gone through acquired whatever goals you've set up to acquire. Because for me, as people, we tend to deem goals as success. For example, you say for my business, our financial goal would be to get to have a revenue of 100 million. Then you get to 100 million. Would you say that is success? Because guess what? It's not. When you get to 100 million, you want to go further. So that for me is not success. Success for me would be on that day when you are on your dying bed and you look at your life and you reflect and you realize that you were not just a number. You have come here and you have influenced and you have done something to improve somebody's life. That for me would be success. Sometimes you tell somebody something. Sometimes you give somebody 5 rand. Or sometimes you give somebody a lift. But you don't understand the impact that you have into that person. That for me is success. And I was like, I'm receiving this person's success. Whoever this person is. That for me is success. Having influenced that person that much that they deem what they're doing as helping. For me, that's the measure of success.
Iman, when we say today's youth, what excites you most?
The youth of today, very, very knowledgeable. They have a lot of information, a lot at the exposure than what we had. That's what excites me. But the thing that excites me also scares me, because too much of information can also be lethal when it's not used correctly. And unfortunately, a lot of the youth that we have don't know what to do with the information that they have. If they understand that the gem that they hold in their hands and what they can do with it, I'm sure they can move mountains. But unfortunately, they don't know what to do with it. They are just bombarded with Google, this, that, this. They know a lot. They speak rah-rah. But when it comes to practicalities of things, it's just sad.
What are you most grateful for today?
Life. I'm grateful that I get given the opportunity to fix the mistakes, to relook and change my thoughts and try to fix myself for the akhirah.
Today's your last day.
Yeah.
And you only have enough energy to say a few things, a few words.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say to your loved ones, family and friends?
I'll say La ilaha illallah. There's nothing more that I would say that I would not have said. Once the book has been closed, it's been closed. And more than anything, I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He moistens my tongue, that be the thing that constantly reigns in my head, in my heart, that my tongue on that day softens and is able to say that La ilaha illallah. That's it.
Iman, we want to thank you for coming in. I know it's late in the evening, midweek.
Yes.
And we really appreciate you coming.
Yes, a pleasure.
And I got a chance to meet the descendant of Prophet Sulaiman.
Yes.
And shukran for coming.
No, it's been a pleasure. The more you look into yourself, it's also a lesson for me to learn about myself. So thanks for affording me the opportunity to share my story. And I hope that somewhere, somehow, I have influenced somebody through my story. So Jazakallah khairan for the opportunity to be able to impart the little knowledge that I have gathered throughout the years. Shukran. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. Iman, on behalf of Khalil and myself, we'll make dua for you and your family, inshallah. Allah will bless and protect you, put barakah in your time and your efforts.
Ameen.
And inshallah, next time we have you on the show, your book will be complete.
Ameen.
Ameen. Shukran for your time. Really appreciate it.
Shukran. It's been good.
So that's it for today's show. We hope we added value. We hope you enjoyed it. But most of all, we hope our guests inspired you to live with purpose. Don't forget to send us your suggestions via info@accidentalmuslims.com. If you know anybody out there that is inspiring, that's leading, that's living with purpose, please do contact us.
And remember, feedback is our oxygen. So follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I hope you enjoyed. God bless. Assalamu alaikum.
عن أبي بكر وعن عمر وعن علي وعن عثمان ذي الكرم والآل والصحب ثم التابعين فهم أهل التقى والنقى والحلم والكرم مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم بشرى لنا معشر الإسلام إن لنا من العناية ركنا غير منحدم مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم مولاي